Hey everybody, Matt here for AVC and welcome back to the shop. With the holidays coming up, if your family's anything like mine, it's always hard to find gifts for that certain someone in your life. So today I wanted to share 10 items that I use to build vans here at AVC. Let's jump right in. The first item we have is the Fast Cap Long Nose Pattern Marker. So basically this is just a silver marker and has a super long needle nose on it. And this thing is really awesome because we can mark on dark surfaces, we can fit through little tight spots in a van and mark something out. And it's also really easy to get inside of a tight corner and mark those locations out. A lot easier to deal with than a Sharpie. So I really like this one. It does have a dual tip, but I don't think I've ever used the chisel side tip. We just use it for this long nose all the time. Our next item is the Metal Majory metal pry bar. So this thing we picked up here for the shop on a whim, and it ended up being one of our favorite tools around here. So we can use this to get behind little panels to pop them open, something like the back doors on our Ford Transit, we can slide in there. It's a really hard steel and has almost no flex to it, so it works really well for prying something open, but it also works really well to like push down a crease into something, or if we're like wrapping, a lot of times we'll use this, we can smooth things out, or we can like push a nice hard corner in with it. And since it's not a painted item, it doesn't leave any kind of colorant behind. I've used the back of like a marker or the back of one of my utility knives, and they're either painted yellow or they're painted red, and it leaves a little bit of color behind. This thing, because it's raw steel, doesn't leave anything behind, and it's always close at hand. If you happen to pick this one up, it comes in an awesome box as if it was forged in the fires of Mount Doom. So extra bonus there. Our next item complements the Metal Majory, and this is a panel popper tool. So we use this all the time when we're deconstructing our transits. And this one differs because it has this little opening here, and that you can actually get behind the panel and then get around those little plastic Christmas tree plugs and pop those open. And this is my favorite one. It has a nice bend to it. It seems like it's just the right amount of bend, and it's actually pretty nice quality. There's some real junk panel poppers out there, and they're just not worth the money. But this one, at like around $10, is totally worth it, and it's a pretty awesome tool. Our next item is this specialty jigsaw blade, and we recently featured this in our pocket wall video. This is basically a 4-inch long serrated knife that you can stick into your jigsaw and cut all sorts of stuff. So we use it here around the shop to cut foam rubber for our mattresses, and we've also used it to cut XPS, or extruded polystyrene foam, here at the shop. The nice thing about this is that it's not like a normal saw blade, but because it's a nice smooth blade, it cuts a really smooth line, and it doesn't make a ton of mess when we're cutting foam. All right, our next item is one of my favorite things around the shop, and it's called the glue bot. So I actually saw this at my buddy's house. I was helping him build an addition on his house, and he was doing cabinet assembly, and this is just basically a fancy glue dispenser, but the way that it works is the glue settles down to the bottom and then comes up this little straw, and it's just a really precise way to apply glue. It never gets clogged up. It's really easy to fill because it has a big cap, but it's also accurate to apply glue to my cabinetry, everything like that. We have multiples of these things around the shop, and we use them all the time. Absolutely my favorite tool. Our next item is the 3M Work Tunes, and these are hearing protection that you can wear around the shop that are actually proper hearing protection, so if you're using a loud device, but it also has Bluetooth music built into them. Man, I like these things so much, I actually bought them for everybody in the shop, so that if it's a really loud day, everybody can have proper hearing protection, but they can also jam out or listen to their favorite podcast, whatever helps you get the job done. It's really good for tedious work, and it's good for protecting your ears, even if you're not using the Bluetooth functionality. So since we mentioned some Bluetooth music devices, the guys in the shop suggested that I recommend these to you. These are Skullcandy Dime earbuds. So these are Bluetooth earbuds that are just some of the best things that I've ever used. I use these things every single day, whether I'm here at the shop or whether I'm at home with the kids or doing chores around the house. Some of my favorite things about these is that even a single earbud will just automatically connect to my phone, and I can listen to music, but I can still have an ear out to someone in the shop asking a question, something like that. I listen to podcasts a ton because I always love learning new stuff, and these let me listen to something interesting while I'm doing some of those more tedious tasks in a van, like insulating, for example. They're really inexpensive. I think we checked these out. They're right around 20 bucks, so they're really cheap. The newest ones have tile technology built into them, so because they're dark, I'm always leaving them around in the shop somewhere, and I can hit that button on my phone and they'll tweet out to me, so I can find them, or I can find them in my coat pocket wherever I happen to leave them. All in all, a really great product, and this goes beyond building your van. I think these are just awesome for every day. So now we're moving on to the electrical section of our toolkit, and I know that electrical work can be pretty intimidating to a lot of people, but it doesn't have to be, and having the right tools to get the job done can make it much smoother and more enjoyable. So these Irwin electrical tools that I have here today are not the most expensive things in the world, but they work really well, and I have been using these things since I started AVC in 2017. So the first one up is just the Irwin crimper and cutter. So these work really great to cut wire. I can crimp wires on here too. And the next one I wanted to show you is these Irwin wire strippers. So these make stripping something like this sheathed cable really easy. I can strip the casing off of my wire, then I can separate my wires and actually strip these out if I need to. It makes stripping wires in a van really easy, and if I'm doing hundreds of connections in a day, it makes it a lot more enjoyable. Then I can grab one of my crimp-on ends here, and I can go ahead and crimp this together if I need to, or if I need to crimp 2 different wires together, I can strip both of them at the same time. They're gonna have the same length of stripped wire on there. I can put one of my little splices on here and then crimp it down and do a nice pull check, and everything worked out just great. These are really inexpensive tools, but man, they make that job go so much faster. The next item I wanted to share with you are these Wago wire connectors. These are basically wire nuts, but they have a little bit more going on for them because I think they hold the wires a little bit more securely. I was originally turned on to these by my buddy Danny, who works in the solar industry. He shared them with me, and man, they have changed my life here at the shop. Little things like doing control panels are much easier now that I have these, because when I need to add another circuit to something, like maybe I'm sharing power between this LED light and a USB, and let's say I have 2 wires in here and I want to add a 3rd wire to it, I can just undo these wires, I can put it on a triple, I can clamp those down, and then I can add that 3rd wire into that circuit, and I don't have to cut any crimps, I don't have to resplice any wires, it just makes everything really easy. Another nice thing about these is that it's really easy to join very dissimilar sizes of wire, and that can be a challenge. If I'm trying to join like a 24 gauge wire with a 12 gauge wire, getting the right crimps together and getting everything secured properly is really difficult, but with these little wire levers, man, it is super easy and they work really great in the van. We put a multi-pack for you down in the description below. You can pick them up in singles in like huge packs. I buy them in giant containers now, but I think the multi-pack is a really great way to start. The last electrical item on our list today is this multimeter, and really any multimeter will do, but this one seemed to just have a really good bang for the buck. I picked this one up here for the shop a few years ago, and I've been using it ever since, and it works really great. A multimeter is really great if you're setting up your own electrical system, but honestly, this is a perfect tool to have in the van all the time. If you're trying to troubleshoot something out on the road, this can check voltages for me, so I can check voltage at a component, I can check voltages at my battery in case I'm curious about something like maybe disconnected in the system. It also checks continuity, so if I'm just trying to find a nice ground to body somewhere, this does that for me. This is an audio version of that, so I don't have to actually look at the device if I'm trying to check continuity between 2 different places in the van. And the other thing this does is it measures resistance for me. So if I'm troubleshooting an S-bar furnace, I need to make sure the wiring is done correctly. I can use this to check the ohms in the circuit. It's a little bit more advanced, but even just if you're using it for continuity and voltage, this thing is definitely worth its weight. The last item on our list today is not really a tool for building your van, but it is an essential tool for owning a van. And this is an extendable ice scraper and snow broom. If you've been owning a Transit for a while, you already know this, and if you're a first-time van owner, you're very soon to find out, but that gas station ice scraper is not gonna cut it to get the snow off your giant van windshield. This thing is really nice because it extends out to like 60 inches. We can reach that snow all the way at the top of the van and scrape everything off that windshield. It has a nice rubber squeegee so we can get snow off the hood without scratching up our paint. Has a nice ice scraper on the other end, so it's a nice all-in-one tool, and I really like that this head swivels off to the side, so it stores pretty small in the van, and it's always close at hand. We like these things so much that we bought them for a ton of our customers, and we usually have a handful of them around at the shop for wintertime. Was there a unique tool that was really helpful building your van? We'd love to hear about it. Please let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.